Let glory shine. From the ashes I rise. Every scar a story, every tear baptized. This is my freedom, this is my climb. Let glory shine, it's the power inside.
Welcome back to Let Glory Shine. I'm your host, Martha Glory, and I am so excited to be here. And our guest today, y'all, get ready. I hope your seats are buckled up and you got your seatbelt on because we're going for a ride. I just got to meet this fantastic human in Jamaica just about 3 weeks ago when I was there for a conference. And we just connected. As soon as I saw him, it was like energy attracted, and we understood that we were of the same making, and we just flowed in that conversation. So I can't wait for you to get to meet him because all that's going to unfold is nothing short of magic. So let me introduce you to Ashley Isaacs. Ashley,
Hi.
welcome.
Hi. Thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on Let Glory Shine. So, welcome. I want you to talk about the experience in Jamaica and why you were there. I know serendipitously you just ended up there because I've heard your story, but just let my audience in on a little of what got you there in the first place.
Okay, I'll try and make it as, the short answer. I created a therapy a couple of years ago and some coaching skills that could help someone transform the inner core story, like the neurology in the gut or the heart or the throat, really transform it at a core level and then move in a new direction. I translated that into a workshop earlier this year. It worked really well. I was then on a phone call with a guy running a summit in Jamaica, and I then explained how my workshop could kind of dovetail in some ways into what he was wanting. His eyes got wider and wider, and he said, "Can you come to Jamaica?" And he didn't finish the sentence, and I said, "Yes." It felt right. And I've got such a passion for the work that I've created and to share it. And what a great platform to do that on in Jamaica. And I got to lie on the beach a lot and swim in the sea. And so why wouldn't I say yes? I'd be crazy not to.
So, in what we do, our yes is one of the most powerful things that we have. And so, exactly. And so, your yes brought you to Jamaica, which is where I got to connect with you, was the Moxie Mindset Retreat. And it was a room full of eager entrepreneurs that are leveling up, building, right? And so it was a lot of business talk. So I felt it was so important that I got to speak on trauma, right? And my own experiences and my own healing and my own journey. But then when we got to your workshop, it was just like, we're doing this at a leadership conference. How freaking powerful. And we were out on top of a cliff outside
Mhm.
in like a covered pavilion with the breeze blowing, and we could hear the waves and the birds. Like, it was so magical. Like, you couldn't make this stuff up, right? And we're all perched on our little pillows and towels, and we're just brought into this very meditative state. And it kind of shut out all of the noise that was going on around us, not the noise of nature, but the noise of our minds, the
Mm.
noise of the having to do's and having to show up and responsibilities. So talk to me about, or talk to the audience about, how that is so important to be able to shut off that noise and be able to tap into self.
So our hearts are supposed to be running the show. If our lives are busy, chaotic, hectic, noisy, full of phone input screens, work, stuff to hold in the house, family, and yada yada yada, there's all so much that quite often for humans, there's not a tiny little window of peace or time for the things to just stop. Our brains aren't designed to do that for long periods of time. They're just not. No organism is designed to be under a constant level of stress. And everyday life that is stress, as a lot of people do it and flow through it or bash up against it. So it's essential to find a place of peace a number of times a day, like to get us back to like a reset. So yeah, part of what I do in that workshop space is to drop people into their authentic self, into their bodies, and so they can start to feel their hearts and their guts, and what their heart and their gut might say about an inner part of their story. And so I just hit some, almost, I call it like headlines of the neurology of the hips, and then in the middle of the gut, the solar plexus, the heart. And I just touch on a couple of real headlines of stuff that people find tricky. And it's almost like the inner argument of our own neurology. It's massive, it's powerful. And when we speak that to someone else's face and they just hold eye contact and they don't say anything and they just feel compassion in their heart, things
Yeah,
really shift. It
it's
really
a huge
shifts.
shift. Something powerful that I learned some years ago when I first started into this type of work, right, of really digging back into self and understanding what that meant, is I realized that I had spent the majority of my life up here.
Mm,
And not only because of all of my early onset trauma, but because that was the only thing I knew how to do. I didn't know what it meant to drop into the heart space. I didn't know what it meant to drop into the sacral space. I didn't know what it meant to really understand my body in that way. So when you're speaking about it right now, I'm wondering how many people are out there going, what is he talking about and why is this so necessary, right? But it resonates so deeply with me because of why I understood that I had spent over 4 decades up here and I had
mhm,
never understood what it meant to drop into here.
mm,
So I understand, like, you just go through life not knowing, and you don't know what you don't know until you find out you
mhm.
don't know it, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
then once you know it, there's an inner responsibility that starts taking over and saying, wow, what does it feel like for me to sit with self?
mm.
And what power comes from sitting with self, right? So, talk to us about the power that we get to tap into when we align with self.
The words came to me as you were talking. Shrek, as he's walking along and telling Donkey, he's like an onion. Like it's like there's layers to this, right? And when you pull back the first layer, you're like, whoa, there's lots of other layers to explore here. Okay.
Yeah.
So So if our heart is supposed to be running the show emotionally and electromagnetically, then how do we listen to it? How do we attune to it? And then there's the other saying of I trust my gut. Well, if that's true, how do you listen to it and how do you lean into that trust? So they're just two massive areas where most human beings haven't been taught how to do that and have almost been constructed a life where it's almost impossible to do that. And as you say, we just have to be up in our heads and try and navigate from there, thinking that this is supposed to be running the show, and it's not. So when this is running the show and it's talking to the gut and it's talking to the throat and it's all aligned to the brain as well, then things start to become a lot clearer and easier. And so some people talk about authentic self or their soul or maybe their inner child and do inner child work. So what happens is we have neurology in our system that's sectioned off as, well, that's what we did until we were 2 or 3 or 4, whatever the age limit is, because up until that point it was safe, but then it wasn't safe. We had to shut that off and section that off. That can't exist anymore, even though it's in us. We have to be a different version of ourselves. As you said, you had to go up into your brain, even though as a tiny child this would have felt right, and listening to this would have felt spot on.
But we're not taught to embrace that. We're not taught to
No,
tune into that. We're not taught
no.
that that's safe.
No, no. And yeah, so the word safe is so, so important. So in the workshop experience that I create or the one-to-one therapy, safety is the most important thing. The person has to trust that they are safe, either that I'm holding them, or if it's a workshop experience, that then there's other people in the room holding and supporting them. Then they feel safe enough to be able to speak from their heart. and then they can get to start listening to it and feeling into it's very, very delicate. And yeah, it might have a lot of barriers up against that opening. There's a lot of tears in the room in the workshop.
So I want to dive a little bit deeper into what my experience was in said workshop in
Oh,
Jamaica.
exciting.
Because you and I have not actually gotten to have this conversation.
No.
Time just hasn't aligned in order to do that. But I want to share a little bit of what happened with me during that workshop. And I want to preface it saying I've done a lot of this work, but something happened. I've been on this healing journey for 14 years and I've done a lot of different modalities. This hit differently. And when I say it hit differently, generally, when I have done this kind of gazing work or inner child work or the healing work that of addressing the different energy spaces, right? It has been done with somebody that I know very well and that I trust and that I feel safe with, just like you were saying, right? I've never done it with quote unquote strangers.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that the people in the room weren't safe. I just didn't know them on most of them on a personal level. I knew some of them on a personal level, but I didn't know all of them in a personal level. And the vulnerability that is required in order to receive this type of work is vast. We have to be
Hmm.
honest. We have to feel safe. It goes back to
Yeah.
safety. So, what I have to say about the overall experience with all of those things that I just listed, you created the container aligned with source, with God, with right. You talked about Jesus, you talked about God, you talked about the container. You created the safety in that container that all of those other things that would have generally kept me from being able to drop in made them
Mm.
disappear,
Mm.
and the people in that space could not have held a more sacred space and time because of the container that you created, right? So again, when I got matched up with one of the ladies who I know I've run into several different times in different conferences, but have never had a deep um like healing experience with, right? When
Mhm.
I got matched up with her, there was no expectation. There was no there was just, I'm here, you're here, and we're going to give this everything we got because this is, I want to get the most out of whatever this is going to be. And she felt the same way. And I have to say that I can't imagine being teamed up with anybody else in the room other than her because she was the exact energy and the exact mirror that I needed for that experience. It
Mm.
also made me realize I am still an onion. Even after 14 years, I am still uncovering levels of healing. I am still uncovering levels of that neurological disfragmentation that happened because of all the things I've experienced in my life. And I'm
Mm.
still having to recreate those neural pathways in order to create safety, security, belonging, love around those things, right? And so, as we address the different energy centers in our body, and we had to repeat these affirmations: I am safe, I trust, I see, I feel, I let go, right? All of these different affirmations as we went up and down the energy centers, I realized I was holding things that I thought I let go of a long time ago. And I am a different human today because I allowed myself to be in that experience and open up in a bigger level, a deeper level. And because Catherine was able to hold that sacred space for me. And
Mm.
so I'm not the only testimony from that room. My sister literally got baptized after your workshop in the Caribbean Sea, right? Like you can't make this stuff up. Like there was just so many blessings and miracles that came from that space. Monique bursting out in song and shaking the entire vibration of where we were held. I mean, you can't like make this stuff up. It's just so beautiful. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
It was an honor, really, really. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, as the facilitator, how did it feel?
It felt it felt amazing. It felt truly amazing and humbling. When I first had the idea about the workshop, it just felt right. I hadn't done it before, and as I said, I did it at the start of the summer, and it just worked. It worked really well. It's so when I do a one-to-one session with someone, I've got all of their history, and so I can really deepen into those exact specific words that hit that part of their neurology that just clinks in the right way. And so I can't do that in a workshop environment. There's, between 30 and 40 people there. But I just realized that if they hold the eye contact and I hold the energetic safety field, and I encourage them to hold the energetic safety field of themselves and each other, then it can really work. Um, so just to be clear, it's not just specifically for Christianity. I threaded that stuff in because I knew that it was going to work for my audience because so many people were from a Christian faith. And I've done such a ton of research, Martha, in what it is to be a human being, what religion and how it impacted over generations, and our timeline and civilizations and yada yada. In that, I had a really deep understanding of some of the words from Christianity and how they really attune to what we were talking about. So I brought that in, but also the recent science of understanding what's going on in here at the same time that I'm delicately tripping everybody in the audience into that soft spot in the gut or that soft spot in the heart, and saying it in that vibration and those words specifically. And the reason why it works so well in a group, I don't know if you know about toroidal fields of energy, but when everything in the same environment coheres to the same vibration, it all just starts doing this. It looks like an apple if you cut it in half. And so one-on-one is amazing, and it's very personal and it's very delicate, and there's life-changing things that happen in there. In the group setting, equally, it's not as personal, and yet some things are really getting supercharged in the scene. Um, so yeah, there was some really big shifts in the room. As you said, Monique that hasn't sung in 10 years, and all of a sudden she's filling the place with sound. And yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of tears, as people were really deepening into something that what it is, Martha, it's like our authentic self, our soul has always wanted this thing, like, to be loved, to just be able to feel strong and proud of ourselves, to be good enough, to be able to speak our truth. It's always wanted it, and it's been screaming for it. But it's probably a very, very tiny, small, tiny little voice that doesn't get much airtime, if any at all. And the rest of it, the noise, the life, or the conditioning, it's just overpowering. And so the
It keeps
workshop,
it suffocated, right? It
yeah,
keeps
yeah.
it suffocated until a brief moment, a brief experience like this, that it gets
Hmm.
to have, it gets to be born again almost, right? And
Yeah,
it gets to find that light, it gets to step into that, right? And
yeah.
my belief is that because I've done a lot of this work, my belief is once you get a taste of it, you want more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because once I first felt that, and I would like, within the last 14 years, as I've been doing this work, every time I was like, okay, if that's possible, what else is
Hmm.
possible, right? And
Uh-huh.
I and I still go into all healing modalities and all healing experiences with that childlike faith and
Hmm.
curiosity,
Hmm.
because there's so much more that's possible even when you've done so much work, right? There's
Uh-huh.
always new levels, there's always new experiences, there's always
Hmm.
deepening of said experiences, because no two experiences are ever the same. And
No.
so I felt like it was really important that though we were in this group of 30 people, we
Hmm.
I felt like I was the only person in the room. Me and Catherine were the only two in the room
Yeah.
because when the container is safe, you tune
Hmm.
out everybody else's because you want them to have a special experience too. And it's a respect thing, it's an
Hmm.
honoring of
Hmm.
each other person in the room of having their own experience. So I think, consciously, I heard other people crying, I heard other people breathing, I heard, right? But I was here. I was here. And so me and Catherine were the only people in the room, right? Like we were just, and that's how when I've talked about it with my sister, when I've talked about it with other people, that's how they felt as well, is that they were the only ones in the room because you start to realize if I don't take full if I don't take this experience to the full experience that it can be, I'm wasting my time. Why am I here? Right?
That's part of the reason why it works so well. So I'm going to geek out a bit now with the science that's happened recently. So when we've got eye contact and we're speaking about our truth, we can lie, but both sides know it's a lie, and it's felt. It's a felt experience. So I'm inviting everybody to just say it more gently and just from the heart. And can they put their hand on their heart, like feel the vibration from their hand going through their heart, and say it like they're trying to convince a little child, like really from deep down inside, convincing truth. The shadow part of it, the construct, the controlling thing that's been in the way, has got nowhere else to go. All there is truth. And when
Mm.
that happens and we've got eye contact, the brain has no choice but to go into gamma waves, or super gamma waves, which means it's basically just flushing neurology through the entire system like that, literally like that. And so the story, like I'm still involved in the Mankind Project, and so they do work on the story, and some people then repeat trying to fix that story because it's not neurologically completely shifted and gone. And so in that moment, all those people in that room, their neurology was all aligned with each other of, I unconditionally love myself. I am good enough in every present moment. I speak my truth. And all of those energy centers were all aligned and vibrating, and everybody's brain had hit gamma at some point or another and flushed some stuff. There you go. There's some science for you. That's why some of the reasons why it felt different.
I love it. I love it. I am way more heart felting feelings driven than science,
Uh-huh.
but I actually followed what you just shared. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Somebody else out there is going, that makes so much sense. Right. So I get it. So I just again thank you for saying yes. Thank you for showing up in Jamaica, sharing that beautiful experience. So with the last, 6 minutes that we have, please tell my audience what else are you up to? What are you looking forward to? How are you taking this to the mainstream? How are you going to do more of this?
So it's like my life passion at the moment to give it to the world, and the best and most appropriate way to do that. I've got a website, and it's the second or the third version. It's still not doing what I need it to, which is someone to find it on the internet and then say, that can help me. And so like it's like a marketing journey, Martha. Um, I'm doing the group work in as many places as I can all over the world, either by invitation or just showing up. The one-to-one sessions, that was just in the UK. I'm now starting to move into doing some sessions in the US. A lot of people ask if it can be remote. We can talk about it remotely, but for safety reasons, it has to be face to face. And then the client feels safe enough to let go, and then the magic can start to unfold. And that's just the way it is. It's not safe across, if someone had a PTSD scenario and, they were clocked out, how do I help them?
Right.
Um, so in the next 6 months, I've got a training program so I'm going to start training other people to do the therapy, and then mentor them, so that it's not just me, so then it can get further and further out. I'm going to be running retreats. I'd like to do a TED talk. I'd like to do lots of podcasts and TED Talks to just share it. It's like when I worked on the first person that just really made me decide I have to just work in a way that really works for the human being. She let go of an autoimmune disorder just like that, and her eyesight was 20/20 vision the next day, and wow, and yeah, she transformed her life. And so I just said to myself, if it can happen to her, it can happen to anybody. And I don't want people to be stuck in cycles of pain and trauma and believing there's no other option than to take a tablet from the doctor or, get a diagnosis. It's
Yeah.
like so many things are treatable. I don't know how far this can reach and touch, but it's really helped a lot of people, not just with emotional stuff, but with chronic illness symptoms as well. It's
Right.
neurological. My dad asked me if I could try and pot it down to two words because he was really trying to understand what I'd created, and that was tricky. I come to neurological realignment. That's that science and soul.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that I have come to really understand in probably in the last year is that everything that we've ever needed is already inside of us, right?
Hmm.
But because
Hmm.
of conditioning, programming, family stuff, trauma, pain, whatever, life, right? Life be lifing, those things get covered up, right? Our body is its own medicine. Our body is its own healing mechanism. Our body, God already designed us in that way, but it's like we forget, right? So this experience for me was tapping back into what God already put inside of me to continue the healing process, right?
Hmm.
Which is what, right? Like, wow,
Yes,
if
yes.
this means that we don't have to take pharmaceuticals the rest of our life, if this means that we'll be able to help people that are on the brink of suicide, if this helps with drug overdose, if this helps with numbing with drugs or alcohol, with any of those things, why wouldn't we want to bring this? Why wouldn't we want to teach this? Why wouldn't we want to share this? And as I shared with you, I'm very much on a mission of really helping others to step into their next step of their healing journey, whatever that looks like for them, meeting them where they are and helping them align back with this so that they can find their own answers. And I feel like your modality is doing just that.
Yeah, as I said, we touch on headlines. It then kind of opens the book so someone could just reassess everything that's happened, why it happened, and then which direction they want to go, and a moment by moment choice. Life then feels completely different. And it's like, and so, you can then come back for more sessions, maybe to expand the third eye if you want to have transcendental experiences or, to step into that next part of your magnificence that you didn't even know about yet. That it's got so much potential. Um, but yeah, it's for me, the bottom line is I don't want anybody to be stuck in pain and stuck in trauma and believing there's no answer. But the upgrade from that, as you said, if in God's eye, I was created, then I'm not just going to be okay. I'm going to be what was your words? Go on. Oh, okay, okay. Was that for my ears only?
Is what?
Was that for my ears only? You said something along the line of magnificent, but it might
Oh,
have.
yes, 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 yes. I was like, which word? I've said a lot of words, Ashley.
In your when you were standing up at the summit, you said, yeah,
Yes,
something along the lines of if I'm made in God's eyes, then I'm not just going to be average. I'm not just going to be good
right.
enough. I'm going to be flipping amazing.
Unapologetically, yes, unapologetically magnificent.
Yeah, there you
Exactly.
go. There you go.
Unapologetically magnificent. Yes, if I am made in God's image, then how dare I not know that I
Yes,
can be
yes,
unapologetically magnificent? Exactly.
yeah,
So, wow, this time went way too fast. I could sit here and
certainly
talk to you
did.
for another 3 days. Again, thank you so much for saying yes to the Moxie Mindset Retreat in Jamaica. But thank you for all that you are going to do for humanity and with humanity. And I can't wait to further collaborate with you. We're going to talk off screen about some of those things that are coming down the line that I really feel like are aligned. So can't wait to talk about that.
Perfect. Perfect.
So thank you for being here. Ashley, I am so privileged and honored to have met you, and I can't wait to see how God continues to work through you as a vessel, as a conduit to help others that are in trauma, in pain, step into their own healing. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'll be back, same place, same station next week. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful night. And don't forget, let your glory shine.
Let glory shine from the ashes I rise. Every scar a story, every tear baptized. This is my freedom, this is my climb. Let glory shine, it's the power inside. This is your prosperity era, where dreams align with grace, abundance flows like rivers. You've stepped into your place. Rise, reign, and remember, you were born to shine. Welcome to your moment, Prospera, it's time.
We hope you enjoyed today's show on Prospera TV Network. Make it a point to visit us on YouTube and catch all your favorite shows anytime you want. Interested in hosting a show of your own? Or advertising your business on our network? Contact Elena Rodriguez.